All right. Let me share my screen here. See if this is working for everybody. I got a little quick PowerPoint presentation. Give me just like a thumbs up if you guys see it. John, give me a thumbs up.
Yeah, I could see it.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, cool. All right. And my computer's acting a little slow this morning, so I apologize if there's delay. All right. So what I want to do is talk about creating time with just the unlimited or the limited time that we have. And what I mean by that is just really trying to be as efficient as possible in, the 24 hours a day that we have. Um, I have kind of been really trying to study how to be efficient in our time. I've read tons of books on the subject because really what interests me is like how like these quote unquote successful people like how do they do so much in a day? How do they accomplish so much in their day? And so I've just kind of been fascinated by that. So I've read a ton of books. I'm always like reading self-help books and um, growth and development books and there these are some of the books I've read. I've read a ton more on this subject, but they all say something a little bit different, right? All very, very good books with little tidbits of knowledge. And I've tried to take you know little snippets of each of these and many more and podcasts and other things to try to come up with my own game plan, if you will, on how I, attack a day to be as efficient as I possibly can in my day, so I can accomplish as much as I can, in that 24-hour period. Anybody read any of these? John, Gerardo, Cody, have you read any
Miracle
of these?
Morning is a great one.
Miracle Morning, yeah. Do you practice the Savers method?
Yeah, my own little version.
Nice. John, you came off mute.
I haven't read any of them, but I've listened to other people and stuff that kind of talk about some of the concepts and some of them. Like definitely heard of Eat That Frog and that type of stuff.
Cool. Um, so I think first, any Rage Against the Machine fans, they have a line in their song "Testify." I think whoever controls the present controls the future. So I think that's really where we start is deciding differently how to control the present. And here's kind of the things that we need to really understand. One, the brain is physically incapable of multitasking. We all think we can multitask, but really at the end of the day, we can't, and we're not good at it. We try, but we're not good at it. There's a YouTube video called "The Monkey Business Illusion." I'm not going to play it today, but check it out when you ever have a chance. It's like 2 minutes long, and really the idea is there's like six people. Three of them are dressed in like a white shirt, and three others are dressed in a black shirt. And they have two balls, and they're walking around the room passing the balls to each other. And it says, "Hey, count how many times the balls are passed between the people in the white shirts." And so you focus in on these two, the balls passing between the white shirts. Well, during the middle of the video, literally a person in a gorilla costume walks through the screen, and then one of the black t-shirts walks off the screen. And you're so focused on counting the balls with the white t-shirts, you don't even notice this gorilla literally walking through the middle of the room, and afterwards it shows a replay, and because you're so focused and you can't multitask, you don't even notice that girl is even walking through. So it's a super interesting video. Check it out when you get a chance. But we literally are incapable of multitasking. So that's step one. Two, we need to understand our values. We'll get into a little bit more of that in a little bit. Three, we need to know our zones. And again, I'll talk about our zones. We need to know our triggers. We need to try to leverage as much as we can. And we need to create positive habits. So we're kind of going to go into each of these individually to kind of maximize our day and our efficiencies in our day. So first, we really need to learn the skill of prioritization. I think we're all bad at it. There's always room to improve in this area. So a few things in this idea. One, we have to create constraints for ourselves, whether that's calendar constraints, like physical constraints, relationship constraints, whatever that is. We have to kind of create these boundaries in order to be able to learn prioritization. The biggest ones, email, social media, and any type of notification, specifically from this guy, our phone. We have to prioritize thinking those distractions are actual work, because a lot of times they aren't. We have to focus on time to match our values. And again, we'll talk about that a little bit more. We have to clean up our clutter from our email inbox clutter from our desk clutter, from our home clutter, clutter from our brain, lots of different things, that can distract us, and we got to clean that up. We have to detect our limits, and we actually have to take time to rest. Two books that I'm big fans of, the TechWise Family. Andy Crouch talks a lot about kind of the tech in your home and how that's a really big distraction, and how he has removed that from his life. And then the Happiness Project is also a really good one there. I'm gonna give out a lot of books today. So if you're interested, if you're a reader, take notes on this stuff. So here's an example of some boundaries on email. And I love this. I've actually tried to do it myself, and I've failed. Like I always fail at it, but it's a great example of putting some boundaries on work, on distractions, on what you call work as an email. This is a realtor here in Denver, Colorado, where I live. He's a top producing realtor. He's kind of well known in the investing space, and if you look at his signature line, it says, "Please note, I check email 3 times a day, 9:30, noon, and 4 p.m. If you truly have an urgent matter and it's an emergency, call my cell phone here. Otherwise, expect a reply during one of those times." So this is a high-performing, super busy realtor that's run around everywhere. And in his signature line, he says, "Hey, I only check it 3 times a day, 9:30, noon, and 4. Other than that, don't expect a reply." I absolutely love that. I've actually tried that. I actually tried to put that on my signature line. It was on my signature line, but I didn't actually follow it. So it's actually pretty hard to do. But again, like, email is a major distraction if you let it be. And this guy like put some boundaries around it, and this is what he does. And it's like he will only reply during those times. It's pretty impressive. So something to think about there. All right, turn your values into time. There's a book called The Road Less Stupid. I honestly think it's probably the best business book that you could ever read. It's from a guy named Keith Cunningham. And he talks about this thing called thinking time. He asks really like who you want to become. And then he challenges you to time block everything on your calendar based on who you want to become, basically turning your values into time. So what he recommends is, spacing out every single morning, early in the morning, typically, time on the calendar, and he calls it thinking time. And literally, you put a stopwatch on for like 30 minutes, and you ask yourself a question, and you have a journal, and you just like write, and you just write down every single thing to answer the question that you've asked for yourself for that day. But he also recommends, like I said, time blocking your values on your calendar. So ask yourself, who do you want to become? I want to become, a healthy father, a healthy, husband, a healthy individual, a healthy 40-year-old man. Well, what does that equate to from your values perspective to your calendar? Well, if you want to be healthy, you got to have a workout on your schedule, right? Being a present husband, being a present father, your relationships. How do you put that on the calendar? Well, you time block out some family time, right? You're going to do family time on your calendar every single day, every single night. So time block your values, time block your relationships, time block reflective work. That's your thinking time. time block your reactive work. There are going to be some times in your day where you're going to have to react to emails, phone calls, whatever that may be, tasks, from at home. And then you want to focus on your input, not your output. And what he means by that is just to maybe take an example of like, if you want to, let's say you want to write a book, you're going to basically calendarize your input on writing a book every single day. So you're going to put on your calendar 60 minutes a day from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. You're just going to write, right? And so you're just going to focus on the input, not necessarily the output of, the end result of writing that book. And so if you're focusing on the input of that, you're going to maximize efficiencies in your calendar and in your day, knocking out writing that book. So your values are going to show up on your calendar and then in your checkbook, like what you're spending money on. So if you look at your calendar, if like you guys looked at your calendar today, you could probably see like what values you have, right? And then you can also look at your bank account and also see where you're spending your money. Any questions on that? Any thoughts, ideas? Nope. So here's just like a screenshot of an old, like this is back in July of 24, but this is just kind of a screenshot of my calendar. I tried to like make it all pretty and, color coordinate it. But, if you can see like every single morning, I have like kind of like my morning routine and I'll kind of go into my morning routine separately. But at the time I was doing savers. I don't do as much as savers. I have kind of a different routine than actual miracle morning savers, like Cody, you talked about. But, I get up in the morning and I have some silent time. I have some meditation time. I have some affirmation time. I PT in the morning, I exercise. I read. I journal. I write. So that's all stuff that happens every single morning, and it's on my calendar. And you might think that that's like over the top, but like if you get a reminder every single morning, you kind of get into this routine. You get into a habit. During the middle of the day are kind of like my we'll talk about our zones in a minute, but you can see like kind of most of like my calls, podcast recordings, lunches, meetings, like all kind of like my work stuff is kind of in the middle of the day, like 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then, I put my phone down at night and I like literally on my calendar, I say, hey, put the phone down, like be present with your family. Because those are values that I want to match to my calendar. Like I want to be
I like
present at
put
home.
the phone down, dude.
Yeah, put the phone down, dude. Like again, like I don't follow that all the time, but at least it's a reminder. And who's the great who's like the best person to hold you accountable to that? Your kids. Like my kids know that I have on my calendar a reminder that says put the phone down, dude. And if I'm on my phone at 6 p.m. when I'm supposed to be like hanging out with my family, my son will be the first one to remind me that I need to put my phone down. So just an example of kind of putting your values on your calendar to match, your time blocks. All right, zones. This is a company called Boldly and Co. Unfortunately, they are not in business anymore, but a couple years ago they had these really cool like planners. And they did a whole presentation that I watched and I thought it was genius. I never really thought about it before, but knowing your zones. So they talk about when are you most active, like from a creativity standpoint? Like when is your brain like most on fire? And most of us will think like, hey, I'm a morning person or I'm a night person, right? For me, I'm a morning person. I get up early every single morning and like that's my green zone. Like that's where I'm like my brain is like working, it's on fire, I'm creative. That's when I can like be thinking about things. Like that's where I'm learning the most and the best. And so like if you know that about yourself, you should then be able to match again that calendar with like what your work is in your zone. So again, in the morning, green zone, that's where I'm super creative. So what in my work could match when I would be most creative? Like, creating content, making posts, doing videos, creating webinars, right? Being creative, like works for me. Looking over real estate deals, analyzing, crunching numbers. Like when my brain is most active and on fire, my green zone, I should be doing that kind of stuff in the morning. My yellow zone is more like where, maybe I'm getting a little bit tired in the middle of the day. What could match that for my calendar? Well, on my calendar, that's kind of where I'm typically like scheduling like networking calls, or when I'm doing admin, I'm checking email, um, you know, running numbers, elsewhere. So kind of administrative stuff. And then red zone, like when I'm kind of probably tired from the day, to me, like I'm a early to bed, early to rise kind of guy. So like, any like 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. It's kind of like my red zone. I don't really get a ton of like work done. So I'm just like, again, like kind of matching my values to my time. That's where I'm hanging out with my family and, cooking dinner and like playing with my kiddos. So kind of just think about like where you're most on fire, where you're most creative, like where you do your best work, and then match that to the calendar. Does that make sense? Has anybody like ever thought about these like your zones, so to speak, like when you're like most creative?
I've done that more with planning my week out. Not as much in a single day, but it makes a lot of sense. Like if I'm doing a bunch of cold calling, I'll front load that on the week because the last part of the week I want to be meeting people and networking.
That's good, man. All right, triggers. Um, we we all have this thing that's a huge trigger, this big cell phone. And we have pings and we have dings and we have stuff like we're looking at this thing all the time. I'm just as bad at it as anybody else. So one, I think step one would be just to turn off all notifications on your phone. Um, so you're not getting the pings and dings. And then two, like if you're going to be focused on something like a webinar, like doing, a deep dive study on a real estate deal, put the phone away. At night, I had actually made this little like phone box. And so, to help me with my calendar of putting the phone down, like we literally like made a little phone box. So like I take my phone physically, put it in the box. So it's not even like around. So I don't even like want to be around it and look at it and get distracted. I hit clutter, clutter. I was joking with my wife this morning. Like she's been doing like she's like a room mom and she also works part time and she like her office at home is like a disaster. It's like a complete wreck, total mess. And I was joking with her. I took a picture of it. And I was like, hey, I'm gonna put this on my presentation today. She's like, no, like don't do it. She was all mad at me, but like I would not be able to work in her office like ever. Like it's such a disaster. And then at home, like I for a long time we rented an office space just so I could like get out of the house and be away from the home because of like I get distracted by wanting to do the dishes or cleaning up the house or putting the groceries away. Whatever that is, you have to master those triggers and understand them and remove them so you can be more efficient in your work. Internally, when you're kind of planning out your day, kind of like with the zones, knowing kind of where your best work is, you also need to try and like schedule the hard stuff as early. I personally think schedule the hard stuff early in the week and also earlier in the day. So time management equals pain management. So like knock that stuff out as quickly as you can, but also at the same time, like don't demand a result from it. I personally think to-do lists fail. I've had a to-do list for a long time. It's a mile long, and it just sits there, and I don't like knock it out. So like, when you're planning, like no kidding, put stuff on the calendar, and then like you knock it out instead of just having like a huge to-do list that just never goes away. All right, leverage. There's, we're getting more and more, technology that can help us with this time management stuff. I've been hitting on the calendar a lot. Um, what I just finally use this thing called Calendly. So like what bugs me, like if you're trying to like, schedule a call with somebody or coordinate a time to like jump on a phone or meet in person, why not just like send them a link that says like, hey dude, here's when I'm available. Like pick the best spot for you, right? It's just a one-time send. Here's when I'm available. Pick a spot, and like it automatically goes to your calendar, right? Instead of going back and forth on like what days are you available, what times are good for you. Like it's such a waste of time, right? That's an easy thing to do. It's just like use like a calendar, right? Calendly is free, and there's tons of other ones out there, but use Calendly. Google Calendar, I live by my calendar. So, again, like put everything on there and then follow it. CRM, if you're kind of in business and you have like CRM and you can automate things, Zapier, Spark, Mail Parser, like there's tons of tools that you can use to automate a ton of stuff. So, if you're in a business that you need that kind of stuff, like look into it because it is, yeah. And then now like AI is like, it's gonna blow everything away as far as using AI and leverage to help you in your business. Um, use people, right? You leverage people that can do stuff better than you. Use a virtual assistant. Like people, you can pay people very cheap wages to do all the administrative stuff that you don't want to do. You can hire and build a team. There's a great book called Who Not How from Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy. Fantastic book on trying to build a team and get the right people on your team that can do the stuff way better than you can. And like figure that out, right? Because that's going to make things a lot easier and a lot better and faster for you. Well, can't wait. Another great book, just about like leveraging in general. A lot of the stuff it talks about, the stuff I'm hitting here. Habits. I kind of hit on my morning routine. I'll go over it a little bit more in general, but just again, some more books here that I highly recommend. I think most everyone has probably heard of the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. One of the things that really I try to knock out or try to focus on is like the habit stacking. Like what can you do in combination with something else, right? Like, for me, first thing in the morning, I make coffee every single morning, and I wanted to really start reading the Bible more. And so I kind of stacked like making the coffee, drinking coffee with reading the Bible. And so that's just something I was doing for a long time, drinking coffee. So I was like, all right, every time I pick up a cup of coffee in the morning, first thing, I'm just going to stack that with sitting down and reading the Bible. And so that's kind of become like a habit now that will last forever. Common Rule by Justin Whitmore Early, and then Habits of the Household by Justin Whitmore Early as well. Kind of more books centered on like kind of family stuff and like habits within the household. It is Christian. Both of those are kind of Christian based. So, but highly recommended to kind of think about like how you're creating habits, how you're building with purpose, especially at home, around family. Anybody read any of these? No? All right. Check them out. All right, planning. Cody, you had mentioned like you kind of do some of your like kind of weekly planning. What does that look like for you? I'm just curious if you're able to talk. No? Anybody else kind of do like a weekly plan, kind of like sit down and like do like a put stuff on a calendar? John?
Yeah, I do. 'Cause I mean, I'm a pilot, but also a mortgage broker, and I have a couple other little side gigs going on. So, time
Nice.
block huge.
Yeah.
Um, I usually kind of sit down every week and kind of have a look back and see if there's anything from the previous week I didn't get done or needs to kind of follow up for the next week, and then kind of plot it all out. And obviously, I have recurring things like, my morning routine, my evening thing, and I try to keep the evenings clear for family. And I'll go through and kind of massage things based on my flying schedule that week and other things going on to kind of move time blocks around as needed because I have to have that flexibility. But I try to have my week pretty much set, and then there's kind of a daily process at the end of kind of every work day. I go and all right, what did I shift today? Because it doesn't always last the day, but I have to kind of move it along there. But I try to stick to it as best I can.
That's awesome, man. I found one thing that I am not good at is like the at the end of the day, like going back through and like seeing like what I actually accomplished and then like kind of making a plan for the next day. I do need to get better about that, but I love that.
Yeah, I
Idea.
found if I don't do that, then things will get missed and there will be something because a really important phone call came in that I had to take and I didn't do this 30-minute time block. And then if I don't like go back and review that day or even and sometimes and that's where the weekly one comes in too, where I'm like, oh crap, I didn't miss that on Wednesday. Like I didn't get that done. That's where I kind of trap some of those errors.
Yeah, that's good, man. This is an example of the Boldly and Co planner that I used for a while until they stopped producing them. But every Sunday is what I would do. I kind of had like a time block on my calendar for kind of like weekly planning, and I would basically just like brain dump everything. So if you see like on the the week of kind of, I would just make a list of like brain dump of everything that was on my brain, and then I would try to start categorizing stuff, and really kind of pick out like the top three or four things that I like feel like I needed to accomplish that week. And then I'll kind of cross check my Google Calendar and really just like I love having like a pen and paper, right? And so like for me, like it was good for me to like cross out time, like put stuff on the calendar to match the Google Calendar. And it was just a way for me to like really think about what the day looked like, and so write it all out. So, brain dump it was a great, thing to do on Sundays, kind of categorize it and then try to document on the planner and match that with my Google Calendar. And we have like a family shared calendar. I don't know if you guys do, but like that way, like my wife can kind of see, what I'm doing too. And, I can see like doctor's appointments and, school, like sports, everything like that. So it's good to kind of match all that stuff up. And then my wife and I would typically do that too on Sunday. We still do. On Sundays, we kind of almost have like a weekly calendar meeting to like sit down and kind of like talk about everything. So super helpful. This is kind of still what my morning routine looks like. I'm like I said, I'm a pretty early morning dude. Get up, between 4:30 every single morning, make coffee, try to chug a big glass of water right at first and go potty. 4:15, like Bible journal, meditate, habit stacking with coffee, drinking that. 5 a.m. I'm kind of doing that thinking time. I'm looking through today's schedule. I'm kind of coming up with a plan of attack, cross-referencing the Google Calendar and the planner, add anything in that I need to. I'm thinking through like this is like my green zone time, right? Like so I'm thinking through like, postings and content and like business planning. I'll try to do my like journaling, kind of my time to think, my thinking time. So that kind of goes through like I don't know 5:30, 6 o'clock. Work on a presentation or a podcast or social media, whatever it is. That's kind of like my early morning like creativity time spot. I try to get a workout in first thing in the morning. If it's nice and not cold here in Colorado, I'm going out for a run or doing something outside. If it's cold, then I'm probably hitting the gym and getting a workout in there, lifting weights and stuff like that. Um, I've also found in my exercising, especially if I'm going like on a run or something like that outside, if I'm getting outdoors, if I'm going on a hike or a ruck or something like that, I don't put music on, I don't put podcasts on, and that's just more thinking time. And like again, like my brain comes up with tons and tons of ideas, and I typically have like a phone with me where I like not to use it for like music, but I'll like write stuff down. Like I have a note section on my phone, and like if I have like ideas, I'll just like jot them down on my phone, because again, that's kind of where like my brain is on fire and really thinking through that kind of stuff. Zoning, like the zone, like green zone, yellow zone, red zone. This is kind of I talked about it a little bit, but this is kind of like my typical like kind of zone planning. Again, green zone in the morning, podcast, webinars, content creation, business task planning, deal analysis, looking financial planning kind of stuff. Yellow zone, emails, admin, networking, investor calls, and then red zone's kind of like end of the day, family time. Typically end with like reading a book or listening to a podcast or something like that. And then I say I put it on there next day prep, but I'm not very good at it, to be brutally honest. I need to be better about that. Here's just some tools that I've used to help with some of this stuff. I'm a believer, and so I hit the Bible every single morning. If I'm at home, I have a physical Bible, but on the road, if I'm traveling or doing something else, I have the YouVersion Bible app that I'm always looking at. That can give you some plans and reading through that. I've used the Calm app for like meditation and stuff like that in the past. I have a Peloton, so if I'll ride the bike or go out on a run, sometimes like I'll use the Peloton app. Notes on my phone, I use like tons of notes, and I'm always like writing down stuff. If I hear a good quote, or if I hear a good book, or if I just have a thought, I'm always like jotting down stuff. Asana is a like a project management tool that we use a ton in our like house flipping business, to basically create milestones and tasks. But you can also like task yourself. So that's another tool that I use to like task myself to do things. so I don't like forget. And then Calendly, I mentioned that I use Calendly all the time, and that automatically updates for everything on my calendar. Uh, Journaling, I talked about the Boldy's code, the 5 minute journal from Tim Ferriss I've used in the past. That's a really good, like just a quick, that helps with gratitudes and affirmations and stuff like that. It's not cheap, so I ended up then just using like the little green notebook, from the military days. I ran out of those, so I don't have those anymore. But you can just get just a cheap notebook and write in there. I've used this 90-day intentional journal by Brandon Turner. I don't know if you guys have heard of him before, but it's a pretty good journal. But again, it's pretty expensive, so you have to. It's like you go through it in a quarter, so you have to buy like 4 of them a year. So it's not cheap. But just some good tools that I've used for like journaling and kind of keeping notes and writing stuff down. Um, and really, I mean, at the end of the day, like it's just about being intentional, guys. Like, we all have this massive amount of potential, but it takes actually being intentional and taking action on it, and you're going to get a result from that. And that result's going to increase your belief in what you do and who you are. And then that's just a cycle, right? Just belief, potential, action, result. And that just gets over and over and over again. And you get better at it and more efficient in your day and your time. And, um, you know, you're going to learn some, you're going to lose some, you're going to, get better as you continue to grow. But at the end of the day, it's all about being intentional. Um, and that is all I have. Any thoughts and ideas, any questions? Stop the share. Um, John, I didn't realize you were a mortgage broker. I wanted to this might be, have you seen or heard about the Military Investor Network, like the actual like community?
I feel like I've heard of it, but not overly familiar with it.
Okay. I'm gonna share my screen again real fast. Gerardo is a part of it. He just joined, and then Cody he jumped off, but he's a part of it as well. And it's just it's an online network. I'm just gonna share my screen here, and then I'll just show you real quick. Come on. Oh, I have to get out of that. Sorry. Let me get out of the PowerPoint presentation. All right. See if it works now. So this is the Military Investor Network. It's on a platform called School, and really the idea was just to get highly motivated, professional, knowledgeable military veteran investors in a space where we can collaborate, talk, ask questions, offer advice, networks, investment opportunities, deals, whatever that looks like. It's just a platform that we can kind of all come together and learn and grow together. So just a community platform. It's again, it's on School. We have just discussion boards, forums, just general discussion. We have single family residential, multifamily, commercial. We talk, passive investments, personal finance, stocks and mutual funds, a place that we can post our deals. If you have referrals, if you have affiliate, alternative investments, and then we talk about eternal investing as well. So just like daily conversations and chatter going on, tons of like just great stuff. A classroom, we have a weekly lunch and learn every single week at 11:30 on Tuesdays Mountain Time, where members can sign up and they teach a class on what they're doing. So if you're a real estate investor syndicating apartment deals, like you can go and teach on stuff you're doing. If you're a lender and doing VA loans, you can go and teach on like how to look at a VA loan, right? And so we have just those are all recorded and then those get uploaded into the classroom. And so if you miss it, if you're flying or something like that, you can go back and look. So Cody last week talked about luxury development. We have short-term rentals, multifamily underwriting. So Fed and interest rates, like you can just see like just tons and tons of information there. Classes. We do member spotlight videos so you get to know who the members are. Again, mostly all military veteran and all just in the investor space. Calendar, like I said, we do a weekly call. and then we do a community call, which you're on now. You can start to kind of get to know the members. You can see Gerardo, you saw just joined, but a place where you can like actually see who they are, where they are, what they do, and you can connect with them individually. And then you can kind of see where they are on the map. And then this platform kind of gamifies it a little bit, so you get like leaderboards, and so we do like challenges to where like we give away prizes, for the top leader for a certain 7 day period or 30 day period. We do gift cards and trips, like so it's a fun little like kind of gamification of the platform itself. So pretty cool community, pretty fun. And yeah, so I started about 5 months ago. We're at about 51 members, and it's growing. So good place to be. Could be a place where you gain some business in your mortgage world.
Cool.
Um, all right, that's all I have. Like I said, not an hour, but any questions, any thoughts, any ideas?
No, I like it all. It was good. Definitely some other. I've actually got Atomic Habits sitting over here that I haven't opened yet. But
Nice.
yeah, that's a lot of stuff going on right now in my life, and that's the time blocking thing has just become like a religious thing for me lately. So always looking to try to find ways to make it more efficient and
Yeah, for sure, man. So I had also said on for this, I was going to do a drawing for a trip to Hawaii, or no, not Hawaii, to Mexico. I'm a part of this travel program where I can give away like hotel vouchers. So if you want to, so I already have emails from everybody else, but if you're interested, send me your email and I'll put you in the drawing. Basically, it's 4 night trip to either Cancun or Puerto Vallarta, and really, there's basically hotels allow this to happen because they'd rather have occupied hotels instead of vacant hotels, and so like you basically get these picks of hotels. You just have to pay the like the taxes, like so it's like $43 a night or something like that. So it's a pretty amazing deal. So
I just shot it to you on the
okay,
chat.
sweet. All right, Gerardo, good to see you, brother. I know you're driving, but thanks for joining. John, thanks for joining, man.
Thanks.
And you guys have a Merry Christmas, and hopefully talk to you again soon.
And to you, Merry Christmas.
Okay, see ya.